Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The judge has tossed out Baldoni's $400 million counter lawsuit against Lively. We have a registered expert here, so we're going to put it up full mass. I am glad that we have somebody who can provide expertise on the program. So according to Deadline, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' team are claiming, quote, total victory after a federal judge just tossed out Justin Baldoni's $400 million defamation and extortion suit over what went on during the making of It Ends With Us and the subsequent alleged preemptive astroturfing smear campaign against the Another Simple Favor actress last year. So while Judge Louis Lemon has permitted Baldoni, his Wayfair Studios executives and PR team of Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel to submit another amended complaint by June 23rd against Lively, Reynolds' publicist, Leslie Sloane, and the New York Times, his exhaustive 132-page order looks to leave little wiggle room for Baldoni. Quote, the Wayfair parties have not alleged that Lively is responsible for any statements other than the statements in her CRD complaint, which are privileged, end quote. The judge said the defamation claims by Team Baldoni with reference to the sexual harassment and retaliation complaint Lively filed with the California Civil Rights Department against Baldoni, Nathan Abel, billionaire Steve Schwartz, and CEO Jamie Heath in late December. Quote, the Wayfair parties have alleged that Reynolds and Sloane made additional statements accusing Baldoni of sexual misconduct, and that the Times made additional statements accusing the Wayfair parties of engaging in a smear campaign, end quote. The judge, the brother of director Doug Liman, went on to say, quote, but the Wayfair parties have not alleged that Reynolds, Sloane, or the Times would have seriously doubted these statements were true because on the information available to them, as is required for them to be liable for defamation under applicable law, end quote. Going to heart of the multi-million-dollar multi-lawsuit fracas, he once termed a, quote, feud between PR firms. Judge also noted, quote, even if they turn out to be unneeded, an employee can insist on protections at workplace for sexual harassment without being accused of extortion. If an employer exceeds, it cannot later claim to be a victim of the employee's wrongful threats. So the main lawyer, Baldoni's main lawyer, Brian Friedman, did not respond to requests for comment on today's ruling, but Lively reps could barely contain their glee. And I really, really need Yas to break all this down for us. Yas, what the hell is going on with this?
There's so much going on with this that it's hard to know even where to start. First of all, this was a huge story when it first came out that Blake Lively was accusing her director and co-star in It Ends With Us, Justin Baldoni, of sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior on the set. So that came out and it was a big story. People were very much behind Blake Lively saying, look, if this is something that you experienced while you were on the set, then that is not a good thing. And people supported her. But then Justin Baldoni's team came out right afterwards. And for a lot of the things that Blake Lively was alleging, Justin Baldoni had receipts for it, right? So he said, she said, I said this. Here are the text messages. She said, this is what happened. Here is actual video footage with audio confirming what did or did not happen. See for yourself. So on one hand, there was the actual lawsuit, and then Justin Baldoni did countersue for $400 million. But at the same time, they were running this campaign in the public sphere. Whether or not this was an intentional smear campaign or not, Wayfair and Baldoni's PR team, they did say that they did have a plan in place in case they needed to defend themselves against Blake Lively if she came out with some of the things that were going on the set in order to defend themselves, but they said they never actually had to deploy their plan because, the press was kind of doing it themselves and the people were doing it themselves. So then you get accusations of astroturfing, people on Reddit who are planting things. You have accusations of astroturfing, by the way, on both sides, right? So people defending Lively and people accusing Lively and vice versa with Baldoni. Lively also wanted to talk about power dynamics on the set, implying that she was just an actress and she was just a woman, and Justin Baldoni was this big, powerful man, the director, the producer, the guy who was, also her co-star and love interest in the film. But at the same time, people also pointed out that Blake Lively is much more popular. She has much more star power than Justin Baldoni, someone who most people didn't even know who he was until this whole scandal broke. So as far as like actual power dynamics, Lively arguably had a lot more power, a lot more money, and she's married to Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, he has also been implicated in all of this because he was allegedly very much involved on the set of his wife's movie. That's like your husband just going to work with, it's like if my husband was just here with me right now while I was at work. And then also there was some altercations between Justin Baldoni and Ryan Reynolds that, really don't make them look good at all. This all, however, comes back to the sexual harassment claims that, that's what kicked this whole thing off. Innocent until proven guilty, but I will say that, having seen some of the footage of when the alleged sexual harassment happened, I wouldn't have looked twice at that. Again, this hasn't gone to trial yet, so we really don't know the details of what has happened, but Justin Baldoni did release the footage saying, look, this is what it is. And there were a few other instances where it seems that Blake Lively misrepresented some of the things that had happened in either her lawsuit or in the press. And then Justin Baldoni's team said, look, here it is, and they actually presented it to the public. And, again, you can make your own decision on that. Then on top of all of that, there were the claims that Blake Lively attempted to take over Justin Baldoni's film, and that was her actual motivation in accusing him of sexual harassment while on the set and while working together. The allegation is that she wanted to get she wanted to become one of the producers of America. She wanted to join the Producers Guild of America, the PGA. In order to do that, you have to hit certain milestones on a film, including you have to hire certain people, you have to be involved in certain processes. And you can see also in footage that she was, she fired the costume director, she fired the music, the composer, the guy who was doing the music for the film, and rehired all these people, seemingly in an effort to say, look, I did this. On the final, she wanted the final cut of the film, which that usually goes to the director. But allegedly she said, you know what, I'm not gonna promote the movie unless I get to do a cut of this movie. And that's the one that gets released. Again, this is all alleged, and it was, hopefully eventually going to come out at some point, whether or not all of this stuff was true. There's a lot more to it. So I hope I'm not glossing over anything, but ultimately there has been a lot of damage to both of these people's careers, right? Blake Lively in the public, she is not seen to be a very likable or intelligent person. People have criticized her actual acting, which is what she's known for. She has done damage to her relationship with Taylor Swift, allegedly, implicating Taylor Swift in all this because she said that if Taylor Swift didn't defend her publicly, that she would release private text messages between she and Taylor Swift. And so they were actual friends. Taylor Swift was the godmother to Blake's children. So that must be very, very difficult for both of them to go through right now. Ultimately, the story kind of got to be bigger than itself. And this very interesting thing happened where right-wingers on YouTube and on podcasts, they took the story and ran with it. And it became very misogynistic very, very quickly. A lot of anti-Blake content and everything that they were saying, it was impossible for Blake to ever get a win with them. And, and people were eating it up, right? That was the juicy stuff. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, he's not as well known. He's never had any kind of accusations like this lobbed against him before. Again, he's not really this big high-powered player in Hollywood. So it would make sense that, or he wouldn't be an obvious target for people to go after. Some of his previous female co-stars have come out and said, you know what, he's never been anything like this to me. And of course, they can only speak to their own experiences. Some of the people who were in the movie with them in It Ends With Us, they also, some of them came out with one story, then they changed their story later. Some of them tried to distance themselves from the whole thing. Hassan Minaj has said nothing, as far as I know, and I think that is the way to go with all of this. So there's a lot of levels to this and a lot of layers. This case, though, getting dismissed is big. It's a big deal. I believe Blake Lively also she took back some of the things that she was accusing Justin Baldoni of, but her case is still going forward. So I believe that is set to go to trial March of next year. So we still have a lot more of this to endure, us, the American people. I think that's as much as I can say right now about that.
That was a very detailed and thorough review. So
Thank you.
next time we cover this, we will make sure you are here again. We
Thank you.
appreciate the update.